Thank you very much. Let me once again to welcome you to MedZone African Motives. We are still on Business Studies Grade 11, Term 2 notes, under Creative Thinking and Problem Solving. Under Creative Thinking and Problem Solving. So now we are going to discuss the Unit 8.2, whereby now we're going to look at the problem solving techniques. Remember, we did creative thinking to address business solutions. So now we want to know much more about problem solving techniques. That is where we are for this presentation that we are going to have together. And let us make sure that we pay more heed and more attention from the start of this presentation to the end of it, good people. So that is that. So let's quickly go to problem solving techniques. Problem solving techniques. This is where we are on this presentation. This is where we are on this presentation. So as it says, business use problem solving technique as an instrument to determine if there are aspects within the business environment that needs to be changed. Get that straight. Get this statement straight. It's very important to understand this. Business use this problem solving as an instrument to determine if there are aspects within the business that needs to be changed. So that is that. So what it means is that when we are talking about this, we are saying business use problem solving to find what is wrong or not working well. So they are using this to know what is wrong. What is wrong? What is they are using this to find out what is wrong or not working well, or not working well. That is that. When you're talking about that statement, for example, you can talk about business notice that there is a decline in sales, and they investigate what is the cause of that. Hope you're together on that. So it further on says, this is done so that there is a better control over the business environment. This is done so that there is a better control over the business environment. So we ensure better control over the business environment. So it helps business manage situations more efficiently. It helps business to manage situations more efficiently. Get that very, very, very well. So we are saying this helps, it helps business. It helps business manage situations more effectively. More effectively. That's what this means. More effectively. So, for example, fixing customer complaints improves service quality. Hope we are on one page, good people. So now it also says, and to ensure that if there is anything that needs to be corrected, the solutions are found and implemented as quickly as possible. So here we are saying solutions are found and implemented quickly, meaning to say problems are solved fast to avoid further damage. That is that. That is that. Also, it says the Delphi technique and force field analysis are two techniques that can be used by business to solve complex business problems. So these two methods, techniques can be used by business to solve complex business problems. Meaning to say, special techniques help to solve the difficult problems. What we are saying, we are saying specialized. We are saying special. Let me put it this way. We are saying special now. Special techniques. Special techniques help solve difficult problems. Help solve difficult problems. That is that. So, for example, we can use experts to improve product quality. Hope you're together with people. Let us move on to the meaning of problem solving. Let us move on there to the meaning of problem solving. So, meaning of problem solving. As it says, problem solving is the process of studying a situation to find ways to bring about change. So problem solving is about studying a situation to bring what? Change. So it involves analyzing problem to improve it. So it means that it involves analyzing a problem to improve it. To improve it. That is that. That's what this statement means. For example, studying why customers are unhappy and you fix the issue. That is what this statement means. Good people, let us be together on that. Also, it says it involves collecting facts that include problem finding and problem shaping. That is the second statement, where we are saying it involves collecting facts. That is when we're talking about problem finding and shaping. So what that statement means is that information is gathered to fully understand the problem. We gather the information to fully understand what the problem. For example, collecting customer feedback before making a decision. Before making a decision. That is that. Hope you're together on that. Also, the next point, it says creative and logical skills need to be applied to find solutions to the identified problems. To the identified problems. Creative and logical. So, meaning to say, uses creative and logical skills. So, both thinking skills are needed to solve problems. Both thinking skills are needed to solve problems. That's what it means. Both thinking skills, are needed to solve problems. To solve problems. That is that. For example, using a logic to analyze cost and creativity to find new ideas. That is that. Now it further on to say, alternative solutions should be generated and evaluated in response to problems. So what it means that different solutions are considered and compared. Different solutions are considered and compared. That is that. So it means that, for example, choosing between reducing price or improving marketing. So that is that. That is why we're saying different solutions are considered and compared. Also, problems can be solved by an individual, a group, or a team member. So what it means is that can be done by individuals or groups. That is in short what it means. That is in short what it means. So problems can be solved alone or as a team. We are saying problems can be solved alone or as a team. That's what this statement means. So example, a manager solves a problem alone or a team brainstorms together. Hope we are together on that grade 11s. So now let us move on to another point. Let us move on to another information. Let us be on another. So now we are on problem solving techniques. We are now on problem solving techniques. It says Delphi techniques. That is the first technique that we're going to talk about. Delphi technique. The Delphi technique is used to solve new and complex problems. A panel of experts, very important, a panel of experts who never meet each other. Very important again, who never meet each other face to face comes up with creative solutions to problems without having to sit through long or drawn out a group meetings. This is what you see. Used to solve new and complex problems. So we say best for difficult problems needed expert opinions. This technique is best. It's best for difficult problems needing expert opinions. Needing expert opinions. So this is where we don't have a previous data. This is where we don't have experience. Then we go for those who have experience. That is where we are to go for the expert opinions. This is where we want to launch a new product. We want to start a new business. We want to start or introduce a new branch, but we don't have information. So we are to make use of the expert opinions. So hope we are together on that. So we are trying by all means to use what the expert opinions. So experts with knowledge are selected. Experts with knowledge are selected. So another information under this Delphi technique is that experts do not face me to face. They do not meet face to face. So they give their opinions while they are at their different places. So that is that. They work separately, not in meetings. So they are going to send their responses via emails. So that is that. So they are not going to be dominant members that way. So that is that. So this is also very important wherever we are trying to avoid long meetings. It saves time and reduces conflicts now because people are not going to meet face to face. That is that. So procedures, it produces creative solutions. Experts think independently and suggest ideas. So that is that. Hope we are together with people. Let us now go to a force field analysis. Let us now go to force field analysis. With force field analysis, it says force field analysis is used for decision making, especially when implementing change management. Very important. Change management. The analysis involves identifying the advantages and disadvantages of a decision for change. So you're going to weigh up the advantages. We're going to look at pros and cons of this change. Hope you're together on that. So, as we have said this. It means that used for decision making. Force field analysis, it is used for the decision making. It helps decide whether to make change. This helps uh, help decide whether to make a change. Whether to make a change. That is why we're going to look at the advantages and disadvantages of a change before we can implement a change. That is that. So also, it is used in change management. It helps manage change in a business. So that is, for example, introducing a new system in the workplace. So that is that. Also, used in change management, that we've said, it also identifies advantages and disadvantages. It looks at the positives and negatives of decision. So we're talking about the pros, more efficiency, cons, which is disadvantages, high cost. So you see, we look at the pros and cons. So the advantages, as we're talking about the pros, may be that the change is going to have more efficiency. But when it comes to drawback, now when you're talking about the cons, which is disadvantage, high cost for us to implement that. So we just try to find out the difference. Do we have more advantages over disadvantages, or do we have more disadvantages over advantages? Then we can have a decision. Hope we're together on that. So now let us move on and come to the application. Now, let us come to the application of Delphi technique. The application of Delphi technique and force field analysis. So the application of Delphi technique, it says business should invite a panel of experts to study the complaints from customer. You go for the experts. You go for people with what? A previous experience. Because you have said this is applicable where you as a business owner, you don't have experience. So that is where you have to go for the experts. So as it says, you invite a panel of experts. It means you choose experts to analyze the problem. You choose experts to analyze problem, to analyze the problem. That is that. So that is that, for example, you find specialists to improve product quality if there is a problem, if the issue is the quality of the product. Also, it further on says, experts do not have to be in the same place and will be conducted individually. Experts are conducted individually. So what it means is that they don't work together physically. They are not going to meet physically. They don't work together physically. That's what this statement means. They don't work together. They don't work together physically. They don't work together physically, sorry. They don't work together physically. That is that. So each expert receives emails separately. That is that. Also, it further on say a questionnaire consisting of questions on how to improve the quality of products or services must be designed and distributed to the panel members and experts. So here we are about design and distribute questionnaire. Meaning to say questions are prepared to gather ideas. We are saying, good people, questions are prepared. They are prepared to gather ideas. for us to gather ideas. So that is that. You ask how to improve safety quality. So you're going to ask by means of questions. Hope you're together on that, good people. So now let us move on grade 11 to another point or to another statement. As he says, the panel should respond to the questions individual to suggest improvements to the products and then return them to business. Experts respond individually. That's what you've said. So it means each expert gives independent answers. Each expert gives independent answers. That is what it means. Also, it says the response from experts must be summarized in a feedback report. So we're saying summarize response in a feedback report. All answers are combined into one report. That's what it means. All answers are combined, are combined into one report. Into one report. That's what this means. You list all suggestions from the experts. So that is that. Hope we are still on one page, good people. Let us move on. So here we are now, where it talks about the feedback. It says the feedback report and second set of questions or questionnaires based on the feedback report must be sent to the panel members. So here we're talking about what? Send feedback plus second questionnaire. Meaning to say experts review others' ideas and add more input. Hope you're together on that. Hope you're together on that. And it says the panel members are requested to provide further input or ideas on how to improve the quality of products or services after they have studied the results and documentation. So we are saying experts give further input. They refine their ideas. They refine their ideas. They give a further input. Meaning to say, for example, they adjust suggestions based on feedback. Hope you're together, good people. So let us move on to another statement. So it now says, a third questionnaire based on previous feedback from the second round is distributed to the panel members and experts. Third questionnaire is sent now. They say third questionnaire is sent, meaning more refinement of ideas, more refinement of ideas. So that is that. For example, now we're talking about final improvements suggested. Hope you're together, good people. It says a final summary or feedback report with all methods to improve the quality of products or service is prepared. Meaning to say all best ideas are combined now. All best ideas are combined now. Hope you're together, good people. So let us move on to another point or another statement. It says now again, after consensus has been reached, the best solution is chosen. Consensus is reached now. Consensus is reached. It means now experts agree on the best solution. Experts agree on the best solution. Let us move on, good people. So now we come to the application now. The application of force field analysis. Now we come to the application of force field analysis. Let us be on that. As it says, the current situation or problem and the desired situation or solution are described. So meaning to say we identify the problem and the goal in this. Here we are saying we identify the problem the problem, and the goal. And the goal. That is that. That is what we are saying. We describe current and desired situation. If, for example, you have current low sales, then desired higher sales. It means we desire higher sales. Also, it says identify what is going to happen if there is no action taken. So you identify what happens if no action. So it means understand the consequences of doing nothing. You are to understand the consequences of doing nothing. That is that. So it means if the problem was the drop of sales, the sales will continue to drop. That is that. Now coming to another statement, all the driving forces and restraining forces that will support and resist change must be listed. Must be listed. So what it means is that list now driving and restraining forces. That's what we are told. You list driving and restraining forces. That is that. So meaning to say, understand the consequences of doing nothing. No, what I wanted to say is that identify factors helping and resisting change. That is that. That is that. Also, it says the key restraining forces and their strengths should be discussed. So that is what we are saying. Discuss 3 restraining forces. Mean to say analyze what prevents change. With this one, we are saying analyze what prevents change. What prevents change? That is that. Maybe is, for example, lack of funds slows progress. So that is that. Now, it further on says the key driving forces and their strengths should as well be considered. Discuss driving forces. Analyze what supports change. So with this one, we say analyze what supports change. That is that. Maybe what supports change is because of the strong customer demand. That is that. Also, it says a score is allocated to each force using a numerical scale where 1 is weak and 5 is strong. So you allocate scores up to 1 to 5. So you measure strength of each force. Here you measure strength of each force. That is that. High demand is equal to 5. High cost is equal to 4. So that is that. So it says again, the positives and negatives are evaluated before deciding if the project is viable. So you evaluate the positives and the negatives. You compare advantages as well as disadvantages. That is that. Before deciding if the project is viable. Choose the force with the highest score as the solution to the problem. That is that. So now you choose strongest force as solutions. You focus on the most powerful factor. So that is that. So now it says the restraining forces should be analyzed to determine the best way moving forward with them. So here we are saying analyze restraining forces. You analyze restraining forces. You find ways to reduce resistance. That is what it means. Identify priorities and develop an action plan. So here it means that plan steps to implement change. Hope you are together. Grade 11s. So now you can see now that we have what forces for change. We also have forces for restraining change, for resisting change. So this is where we're going to have what? A proposed change. So hope we are together on that. So what is important now is what the final tip for exams. You know, final tip for exams is very important. Final tip for exam. So when you talk of Delphi technique, when you talk of a Delphi technique, we are talking about experts. We are talking about experts plus questionnaires, plus questionnaires. That is that. Also, no meetings, plus no meetings. That is how easy you will remember what Delphi technique is all about. You are going to make use of experts because you don't have a previous data. So we're going to do that through questionnaires where we want solutions from the experts in their respective places because they are not going to meet physically. Now we have this word, a force field analysis. Force field analysis. Force field analysis, which is equal to driving versus restraining force. Driving versus restraining forces. So that is where we are seeing pros versus cons, advantages versus disadvantages, so that you can come up with a quality decision. Thank you very much. This is the end of this presentation for this lesson 2. So please make use of this presentation. Make sure that you're going to go through it and understand it very well. Thank you very much for your time.